Going on to our first topic today, Joe Biden and Jerome Powell are going to be meeting this week to talk about inflation. Inflation has hit a 40-year high. This is the first meeting that they're having since Jerome Powell was nominated again. And the goal of this meeting is essentially to discuss tactics, whether fiscal or monetary policy ways that they can actually reduce inflation and have a better way for Americans to stop paying almost $5 a gallon at the pump nationally. Justin, what do you expect to get out of this meeting? And is it just for show, or do you actually think some policy proposals will come out?
Let's actually let Tom go first on this one because he just dropped a video. Go check it out, a deeper dive video. So, Tom, you worked over the Memorial Day weekend. Tell us what you found.
First of all, I hope everybody had a great weekend. The week today started in a Monty Python-esque kind of way. For those of you who are a little bit older and remember the skit show from Britain, I read this thing and it sounded like a joke. So President Biden coming up with his plan of killing inflation, and it's a glorious three-step plan, essentially one step being more ridiculous and more clown show than the other. So basically the steps are as such. Step number one, and I'm looking at his strategy right now, punish Putin more because he's in the wrong. Step number one. So more sanctions on Putin, which is essentially kind of the opposite of what we're trying to get here, which is to increase supply of oil. So punish Putin more. Number two, basically fix supply chains by allowing people to have Medicare and insulin, because that's kind of the solution to the supply chains issue. It's not China, it's nothing else. And then he offers a suggestion to limit the amount of charges freight companies can charge, so they can't charge exuberant fees, essentially a communist proposal. And the finale was basically reduce governmental spending and deficit by spending more money on governmental plans. To his credit, and I said this in my video, the plan did have one point that actually made a lot of sense, and I give him credit for it, which was tax U.S. companies that are shifting jobs, income, and tax revenue to foreign countries. Bring it back home. Donald Trump started doing it with the guilty tax. He's actually talking about it, which is a progress. I absolutely love this point. This is where I think the money's at. U.S. companies evading U.S. tax by going to Ireland, Hong Kong, Singapore, Cyprus, anywhere else where they get lower corporate tax rates. So that part of the plan made a lot of sense. But 95% of what I read, it feels like an insult to my intelligence. As a voter, if I was to vote for this president, I would be insulted that this is the best they came up with. My conclusion reading all of this is that, and I said it on Twitter, if President Biden is our last hope against inflation, well, we're pretty much screwed. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Justin, do you think any of those proposals have any legitimacy outside of spending more money?
So just going down the line, the first one wasn't even a proposal. It was the Fed has primary responsibility to control inflation, which is like, oh, not my problem. That's the Fed's problem. Yeah. The second one was basically we need to boost productive capacity of our economy. And then he says exactly what Tom said about we have to keep punishing Putin, but we must mitigate these effects for American consumers. Therefore, we do a clean energy tax credit. Well, Mr. Biden, Mr. President, we have inflationary pressures that are here and now, and building credits, passing credits, and then letting clean energy come online like in 5 years. Like, I feel like that's kind of too little too late. And then, and then thirdly, reducing the federal deficit. I think it does read a bit like a speech, like one of his political speeches. Here's a good example. The longshoremen in Long Beach, their deal's up in like June. And if they go on strike, we're all screwed. So like, how about you fly there once, we make sure that doesn't happen. I think it's an unlikely chance that they go on strike. But I think that we need to ensure that a lot of these supply chain issues are fixed here, now, and ASAP. So, I think we need more from the executive branch and the legislative branch to fix this thing, because it's not only a monetary demand inflation story, it's like a supply side labor and supply chain issue as well.
I just want to add some data, because so far it's been a lot of emotions, but here's some data. Among the brilliance of the plan, there's also a mention of releasing more barrels from the strategic reserves of the United States to ease supply and allow price reductions. Now, here's some data for you. Taking out Russia from the market, which is a self-inflicted wound, is taking out about 11 million barrels per day from the market. And taking it out from Europe, I mean, there's also geographical issues with where you produce the oil. So Saudi Arabia and UAE produce for certain parts of the world, United States and Canada for other parts. Russia was the main supplier for European oil demands. So you just took out 11 million barrels from the market, and you're about to replace it with your own reserve, which is, I'm not even sure if you can do it legally, but that's a whole different discussion. So in March, they started releasing 1 million barrels per day from the reserves. Now, that's about 1/10 of what Russia produced. But the problem is that you've already been doing this since March until now for the past 2 months, and the price went up from $89 to $118. So you've been already releasing reserves, and that obviously does nothing for the price besides just killing off your own reserves in a case of war, which in case we forgot is a possibility at this point. So that is one of the most ridiculous parts of the plan. Releasing 1 million barrels per day as a mitigation plan.
We have a full segment on this next, by the way. So
yeah, let's go.
I want to just kind of, to Tom's earlier point, give him credit for this one paragraph in this op-ed that he wrote in the Wall Street Journal. Cracking down on exorbitant fees that foreign ocean freight companies charge to move products. I guess that does help. The housing supply action plan to stimulate building more affordable housing, probably a good idea given the environment we've been in. But I think the government top-down approach could have a chance of messing up. But I do want to say that there are some good stuff, and he's saying Congress needs to act too, which is why he's out with an op-ed. It's a tough problem, but I think leading this op-ed saying it's the Fed's fault or the Fed's responsibility is shirking. I think you need to pick it up and be a leader here, because you are the leader of the free world, supposedly.
No, that's not him. That's Mary Barra. If you got confused, Mary Barra led. He said it. So it's Mary Barra, then Biden, then the Fed. That's how it works. Then Trevor Milton.